Hey, hey, wake up, Esme. We've got a job to do. No, this time it's a real one. One of those that actually pays. I finally found your demon. All I have to do is find out where it's hiding. Some mercenary had a sister who was kidnapped, and I'm sure this journey will lead me to him. I'm gonna get him under control until I find the demon. Besides, the mercenary doesn't mind and has promised a reward if I manage to save his sister. So if everything goes smoothly, we'll get a double reward. You in? I'm headed to a world named Antelor, where for many years there has been a war between humans and orcs. The war god Azirael has been killed and a new powerful magic has come to the land where the two worlds meet. At least that's what they say. So I'll find your demon, try to learn a couple of new powerful spells, and find some more powerful artifacts, which we'll also try to sell after all this to pay off some debts. Sure, helping a guy find his sister is important and all. And you gonna pay the bills? That's what I thought. Okay, I'm almost done, so are you in? You're a sly little fox. Soon I'll be right back. I think I can do it in an hour. 2, maybe? My god, it's finally over. That was weird. Yeah, I'll tell you all about it. Just give me a moment. It turned out the sister had been kidnapped a few months ago, so I had to start in a small village where one of the kidnappers named Gandohar was waiting for me. According to him, the sister is fine and they'll release her as soon as I complete a couple of tasks for his masters, who are waiting for me. What was the name of this place?
Do you know the Goat's Cave south of here?
Yeah, right. You know, some villains try to compensate for something by hiding out in places with the most pathetic and sinister names, like the Cave of Last Fear or the Cliff of Fallen Gods, but this seemed to feel pretty confident. Alright, I decided to go into this cave, but first I'll have a quick look around. Nothing special, just basic stuff to get used to a new world and a new body. Practicing with a bow, defeating a bear, hitting a bunch of bandits with a fireball. Oh, you son of a... No, it was a complete nightmare. The only thing worse was the laughable spell damage. But I wanted to believe I'd quickly get in shape and find something more useful. For beating the bandits, the local stable boy gave me a horse and... Do you remember Red Dead Redemption? Yeah, it was super awesome, but with the local horses, I doubt even Marston could have handled and would have been much more excited about the first cars. Antelor's horses are, shall we say, more like driving some kind of fridge. On the other hand, the forests are full of different wolves, goblins and outlaws. So for now, it's easier to reach the kidnapper's cave on horseback anyway, but between horses and portals and future, I will choose the last one.
So we finally meet. My name is Reist Tungard. Your sister tried very hard to convince us that you were dead.
Why are they wearing the same clothes?
Where is Kira?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask at the start.
In a safe place, where she will stay until you finish your mission for us.
That was briefly the whole point of the conversation with the main villain. Gandahar had all the details, but the chatty brother wasn't so stupid. And he also doubted that the villains would keep their part of the deal.
I also believe that. But I am here to make sure that this will not happen.
Oh, well, that's alright then. Looks like we can trust him. Yeah, sure. To be convincing, Gandahar says that there is a magical place nearby where someone would like to talk to me.
It worked.
Emily?
Kira!
Oh, yeah, that makes a bit more sense. The sister is happy to see her brother. However, she doesn't know much herself.
Did they tell you what they want?
It seems to be some kind of mission.
After so many meetings, it's time to learn a little more. But before the connection is broken, Kira tells that the kidnappers are looking for some objects that used to belong to their family, but advises not to do what they ask. I don't mind in general, but then I'm unlikely to get my reward. Sure, and also justice won't prevail and the villains won't get what they deserve. I was just going to say that. The sister points out another place where we can talk, and Gandahar finally tells us about the mission. The villains believe that the twins' family were among those who banished the Or god Azirael, and for years kept some kind of relic which was later broken into pieces and hidden away for some reason.
This is all meaningless.
I was actually hired just to find the sister.
The relic was the key to Azirael's tomb, and you know of it.
Look, I don't think this whole thing is any of my business.
Whatever you think, Reist wants you to bring him the relic and open the tomb.
The Nazgul know where a few parts of the relic are hidden, where to find the rest I will have to be told by a certain man named Ho living near the capital. Due to ancient magic, only a family member can take it. The exchange is supposed to take place in Kudinar, a city with the only forge with the power to destroy the relic, and so at least some assurance that everyone can survive the exchange, with Gandahar promising to assist in ensuring that their sister is not harmed. Better than nothing. Then I first started to realize that I was going to stay here a little longer than I had expected. The first encounter with the wolves reminded me that my magic is still pretty weak, and I need to do something about it. Maybe there is some work in a house nearby?
I need a rope which has just been used for a hanging.
Ye gods, why would you need something like that?
I hope it's not for a dress, but for some kind of magic work. The mercenaries asked me to clean up a dwarf mine. Why not? Besides, it's on my path anyway. In it, I learned how to summon a small demon to help me, and during the fight with the Cyclops, I learned that spell can be enhanced, so maybe they are not completely useless. And yes, you heard me, I beat the Cyclops. Are you already regretting that you didn't come with me? Whatever. The reward for him wasn't worth it anyway. The first big town on the way was Tarbakin. Apart from a madman in a white robe pretending to be a messenger of God, there was nothing special about the town. A big market, a couple of inns, and a bit of work. Helping to deliver some alcohol for the guards, finding a stolen stick for an old wizard, and getting dragon scales for an alchemist. There's also a merchant guild here that wants to see if they can trust me before giving any real job. No, but I'm still going to deliver these stupid papers, especially since the road is leading me to the capital city anyway. In general, Tarbakin is a glorious town, especially if you don't count the bad temper of some ladies.
Keep away from me! Was your upbringing so bad that you would ask a question of a lady on a public street? Ask my father first. Huh. Good day to you.
There is a hill of gallows nearby, so it's a good time to give an old man the rope I found. And then he asks me to take a pair of dolls to the smuggler's camp. Okay, but I'm really hurry. Okay, that was good. Maybe I'll learn something useful from this necromancer.
When I brought the dolls to those men, they all dropped dead.
Yeah, that was cool.
I do not believe it. It worked.
Do you have more? I hope so, but for now the necromancer failed political ambition and this time asked for help in getting rid of a local lord, who has been tormenting the region for years. If you can teach me a few tricks, no problem. Especially since all I need to do is bring another rope. With the teleportation stones, I'll be back so fast he won't have time to say Necronomicon.
Hey, have you seen any rope of late?
Who are you?
I will ask you once again, have you seen any rope of late or not?
Definitely not.
We're trying to catch a traitor who's been working with the necromancer to murder our Lord Skeldon.
No way.
The necromancer is probably hung by now, and we'll capture the second culprit too. He's coming here. So move along now.
Of course.
I hope you catch the swine.
Oh, is that my horse standing on that sneaky traitor's property?
How'd that get in there?
That was close. Also, I lost my reward and new spells, but I learned how to summon another small demon. Is that a fur? Why would demons from hell need fur? And after a couple of caves with skeletons and possessed torches, a petty thief told me where I could find another necromancer. This time it's simpler. The sorcerer wants a taint shoot that can be found in the nearest graveyard, and in exchange he'll share some powerful spells. Deal. Especially since I've got a few more in my pockets from the rope search. So... skeleton summoning. He gave me skeleton summoning. Yeah, that's good. I was really hoping for some kind of storm or some fire rain. But the old man asks for more shoots in exchange for more powerful and destructive spells. More powerful than skeleton summoning? This can be true. Well, keep your dumb twigs, I don't need them anyway. And the new spell is poison arrows. Still rubbish, but at least not useless skeletons. The necromancer asks for more, this time 5 taint shoot at once. How many graveyards do you think are around here? You'd better search in your robe some more powerful spells, old man, cause I'll be back. As soon as I find enough graveyards. In the meantime, I decided to gain experience with goblins, giant spiders and ogres and afterward, go to the digs. Is that a hard dig in your village? Or are you just happy to see me? The excavation is being run by the same evil lord who is deceiving the king and ravaging his lands. The only thing holding him back now is the rebels entrenched in the forests, and they are the ones he asked me to deal with.
I have to tell you that these rebels have collected serious evidence against the house. Either we strike and smash them now, or we may never have a second chance.
You know me, I don't work for people who talk like Darth Vader for no reason. Otherwise, one day you'll wake up and won't realize you've become a villain yourself. Yeah, he didn't say anything about the reward either, but the basic idea is not to become a villain. Shut up! Anyway, they wanted me to torture the girl who was supposed to tell where the rebels were hiding, and... oh, what the hell, just take the key and leave.
You disappoint me. What did you hope to do? Free the girl and vanish on the other side of the mountains?
My god, it was your order to build the village in that shape, right?
You have made a mistake, Worm. I have trained with the best swordsmen in Catalan. No one can match me!
Oh, come on. I have the high ground, freak. Rebels give the first relic and Evanescence concert tickets in gratitude. No, it's Kira again, and she and her brother are back to their stupid childhood memories.
You know what I think of that? Our parents continually spoke of the glorious history and honor of our family, and we lived like the poorest peasants.
And we all remain poor if you don't stop chatting. After exploring a couple of caves with demons who love submission and furry devils, the road led me to a small settlement whose inhabitants live in fear of the creatures that live in the sacred grove. They are so frightened that they are afraid to ask for anything, and beg only to not doom them to death in an attempt to help. Fine, it seems like help is really needed here. But don't tell anyone that I did this for free. However, I was not entirely sure where this ominous grove was. I think he said it was somewhere in the west. It took a while, especially since the grove turned out to be not a grove but ruins. The hell with it, no one said they were smart. The only thing waiting for me there was a single pathetic giant who was felled by a single flaming arrow. And that's it? I'll clear out a few more bandit camps, just to be sure. And the undead cave that's nearby. If it makes innocent people's lives a little happier, then... Son of a bitch. I didn't know. I really didn't know. While I was running away from the psychological trauma, the walls of the capital city of Catalan became visible on the horizon, and I didn't think I'd ever be so excited about a cemetery. But I finally found the missing necromancer shoot there, which means it's time for new spells. And let me guess, you need more of them.
Malio's bunions, how did you guess that?
Stab in the dark. Now he wants 10 more shoots. And I'm not sure there are so many graveyards in these lands at all. But I still didn't get any powerful spells. This time he gave me a stupid skeleton archer, so I would see the old man again. Behind the cemetery is a cabin where lives the same whore who should tell where to find the rest of the relic.
You smell different than I expected. Much different.
What? Just tell me where to find the missing rocks, Jesus. So one is waiting for me in the Barrow of the Mad King, another one in the Temple of the Orcs on the opposite side of the river. What about the others?
Will you eat with me?
I am not hungry.
If you stayed, I might tell you what I think of the smell of Gandoha.
Oh, bloody hell, what's wrong with you? Eventually, I can find the third stone in the City of Ashes in the east, and the fourth somewhere in the desert, but it seems to be guarded by a dragon. Do you remember when everything was easy? Same. At the last village before the capital, a magician asks to bring a magic mirror that was taken by his apprentice. The mirror is needed to get rid of his own doppelganger, whom he accidentally created and who has now taken up residence in another village. Unfortunately, the apprentice can't figure out which of the mages is a real one, so he runs away to protect his teacher. Another mage asks for some help in checking out the Necromancer Tower, around which there has been a noticeable increase in activity, and people are starting to disappear from nearby villages more frequently. Well, you're getting quite a lot of necromancers around here, aren't you? The mage also thinks it can't be a coincidence, and while the tower isn't likely to provide all the answers, she thinks someone is trying to unite the necromancers and convince them that they all deserve a lot more than just hiding in dark cellars, and so supposedly soon we'll all be hearing more about them. If that's the case, they'd better hurry up, because I plan on getting out of here as soon as I stop the demon and rescue the God Princess. On the streets of the village, managed to find a sorcerer's apprentice, but he still does not want to give the mirror. because now no one knows which of the magicians is real, to which among thousands of worlds and 10,000 lives there can be only one answer.
Does it really matter?
But it's important to the boy, and he doesn't want his teacher to die accidentally. And since just leaving the doppelganger alone doesn't seem to be an option at all, the student asks to find another magician in the capital who caused all this to happen. Yeah, if I'm passing by, I'll be certain to go by. In the meantime, the Necromancer Tower was waiting for me, staring brazenly out from the treetops. The sorceress told me that the local community of mages didn't know much about them, and it seemed that they were built by elves about 300 years ago, and there were 5 of them around the capital. But the most important thing is that during these years they have never been explored by anyone, which means that all hidden secrets in them just waiting to be found by someone. You can imagine my surprise when there was nothing in it at all. No treasure, no secret magic, no artifacts, no secret knowledge. Not even a damn chest with a handful of coins. Nothing at all but a whole bunch of undead. Maybe this is just in the first one. Do you think I should have just gone home empty-handed? A zombie horse. At least I found a zombie horse, especially since I forgot where I left the last one anyway. The last stop on the way to the capital is a ruin where members of the mage community are researching orcs and orc culture. They need help too, but again with the necromancers. The community wants to find and stop their leader called Flame, and if I could also find out something about the plans of the Black Mages, they would be very grateful. That's all very well, but I think you need to be reminded of one tiny detail.
'Tis my trade. I work for money, not for gratitude.
Anyway, if there's time. Finally, there was nothing else standing between me and the capital, and I was sure I could find a couple of worthwhile things to do in the city. Such as, move a couple of homeless people from one house to another, deliver new packages for the trade guild, find a diamond for a broken telescope for an astrologer, drop off a giant spider in a house, buy myself an outfit that would make me look like an orc, and take a couple of parts off or catapults for a handful of coins. You know, suddenly I realized that all the hustle and bustle of the capital was not for me at all. So I quickly returned to the search for relics, which led me to what seems like the most distant and godforsaken place. A small fishing village called Clovelin, whose quirky residents know a thing or two about fine art. But I don't have time for all that, because I'm still no closer to our demon and the sister's rescue. So the only worthwhile request was from the mayor to deal with the aggressive sea people that had been showing up on the shore more and more often lately, preventing the locals from fishing. A local magician is supposed to help me solve the problem. He thinks that instead of fighting them, we should look for the reason why they came ashore in the first place. Besides, trying to solve the problem by force will probably only hurt the village, because they will soon appear more, and next time they will be much angrier. In the village, one man talks about his brother who died on a fishing trip 3 months ago. It was a shock to everyone, but his wife Emerlyn still can't cope with the loss. He says that she spends more and more time on the coast, although I can try to catch her at this time of the day at home. The heartbroken widow blames her lost happiness on the sea god Yatolen, whom she and her husband worshipped and always offered sacrifices on time. But now she has cursed him, and she feels nothing but hatred for the ungrateful god. The mage agrees that the woman's story is somehow connected to the appearance of the monsters, but thinks that it can be just the pathetic curse of a desperate widow, and asks to investigate deeper into the story, especially in the way the fisherman died. At the time of his death, only his brother was on the boat, which means that he is the one to go for the answers. With a little pressure, he confessed that they had quarreling that night about the prophet, and he had just pushed him a little, and the corner of the table had done the rest. Frightened, the fisherman creates a story about a boat and buries his brother on the shore, just where the sea creatures have settled. The worm is only worried about not letting anyone know about it, because there is no way to bring his brother back, but it will ruin his miserable life. And the magician agrees that the reason is finally found. In addition to the fact that the sea god was cursed for no reason, they also took away the body of one of his servants, and according to Yatalian opinion, the body of every fisherman belongs only to him, which means that only he can pick them up. Now the problem is that, according to the wizard, the only way to calm the angry god is a new victim, and the village will have to decide who will become the sacrifice. But even so, the sorcerer doesn't guarantee how long the god of the deep will be angry. Maybe another 10 years, or maybe 100. When Emerlyn learns of all this, she is angry at her husband's murderer, and then hopes to make amends to Yatalen, but it seems too late. The widow thinks that now all she has to do is pray, and even asks to personally tell the murderer that she forgives him. But right after our conversation, the fisherman tells that Emerlyn made her choice and jumped off a cliff into the sea. The mage confirms that the sacrifice has worked, and he feels how the sea god's wrath dissolves while we talk, and the creatures turn back to the sea, leaving the miserable village in peace. All that remains is to hope that Emerlyn has a chance to meet her husband on the other side, but this is where our paths with the village separate. After a few bandit camps, graveyards and caves with monsters, the road finally led me to the settlement where I found the doppelganger. Of course, he insists that he is the real one, and for some reason, he also wants to get rid of the double. Also here I am met by another paladin, it seems, and continues to speak in mysteries, but this time he promises that one day everything will become clear. Whatever you say, Riddler. Otherwise, everything is just the same. There is a lot of work, but at least the payment is crappy. Clean up the cemetery, get rid of the ogres at the mill, bandits have taken over the lumberjack camp, some orc leader has shown up nearby, caves with unknown creatures. Nothing that's worth your attention, apart from the last task of the local chief who decided to get away from the places where the war with the orcs came so close. He wants to get some of the treasure from the royal tomb, where I have one of the relics waiting for me somewhere, and the warden has the key to it. How convenient. But first, it's time to finish the story of the doppelgangers and nervous apprentice. Hey kid, I know who the real one is.
Indeed? Will you be able to tell them apart?
Sure, give me the mirror. Thank you. And by the way, I have no idea who the real one is. Nobody knows that. Just pick anyone.
What?
Yeah, there is no difference between them anyway. He'll be fine, we destroyed the stupid mirror in Catalan with the other mage who started this whole mess. So both wizards will continue to keep an eye on their own villages. Or keep trying to kill each other, it's none of my business anymore. At the military camp on the shore, some soldiers asked me to steal their captain's underwear, which was being washed on the beach. But I was afraid all this military stuff was not for me. So I went straight to Kudinar and from it, straight to the king's tomb for a new relic.
That's for you.
Through a crowd of zombies, orcs and skeletons, it turns out in my hands, even though no treasures again couldn't be found, as well as in one more necromancer tower, which strangely enough was completely occupied by necromancers. At least the name did not deceive me. The remaining parts of the relic are hidden on the opposite side of the river, in the lands that belong to the orcs, so there will be a lot of fights. With orcs, skeletons. In their cave, I seem to be not the first one at all, because all the chests were already empty. More wolves, more orcs, more... You one ugly motherfucker. Coincidence or not, but after something brings me to life, right after I've fallen, the sister gets back in touch, though there is nothing new to announce. Something about her losing energy, being careful with the ritual, don't trust villains, and then she say goodbye, this time until the exchange. Then I must go too, this time to Ashes, a city in the east of the country. The guard at the gates of the city, whose armor reminds me of something, warned me that people here are very unfriendly to outsiders, and most likely not many would want to talk with me. The funny thing is, this is where I've had more assignments drop on me than any other city. The guard himself asks to speak with one good woman who lost her husband a year ago, and now her only sister is missing. She thinks that the kidnapping has some connection with the temple, which holds another part of the relic, the Eye of Yatalen. The locals believe that it protects them from orc attacks, but some people believe that this is not true and is simply superstition. To help me enter the temple, the blacksmith promises to give me the key to the gate if I stab his sister, who is trying to take away the smithy that belongs to him. But she contends that I should stab him because she is the one who owns the smithy according to father's will. All I have to do is take the testament to the town mayor to have it verified. But the mayor promises to help only if I go to the woods and find a herbalist to take some medicine for him. Yeah, I was actually promised that no one would even want to talk to me here, and I could just take my relic. The herbalist needs help too, of course. Look, I've actually got a cat waiting for me at home, so... Fine, I'll be back as soon as I can, but you all need to stop. She is asking me to reach the grove where her herbs grow from a giant insects. Shouldn't take much time, especially since I could summon a small army of creatures now. However, spelling a small comet from the sky is still much more effective. Soon the cure is in my hands, but the healer warns that everything is not so simple, because the mayor disappears from time to time for a few days. And during this time someone always dies. More than that, he is a werewolf and only this medicine helps him keep the beast under control. The blacksmith's sister gets her testament, but doesn't help me with the key that will open the door to the temple. And that's where all the ideas stop, because justice seems to have been achieved, but the doors remain deadlocked. To clear my mind a bit, I decided that getting out into the wild and scavenging another necromancer tower from undead might be not the worst thing to do. And I actually had an idea.
What's that?
And so soon I was already fighting snakes in the temple and the relic was finally in my hands. However, this also somehow prevents me from continuing to search for the girl missing in the city. Okay, fine, even if I didn't understand the reason. I guess I'll have to go back a little bit and retrieve the relic sometime later. The only clues leading to the fate of the dead sister can be found in the town mayor's house, where in the common bedroom on the floor, for some reason, carefully lies a red dress. It seems to somehow completely prove for the locals his guilt. Truthfully, I'm not entirely sure how. But her sister understood everything perfectly well, because I barely had time to say goodbye when the guard on the way out of town told me the latest news. The mayor had been killed and he asked me to find his friend, who is now wanted by the whole town while she is hiding somewhere in the woods, and tell her to wait for him. It's after these words, the girl finally realizes that if someone is secretly in love with you for so many years, waits patiently until your husband dies, and then decides to confess everything only when you kill the mayor, because it was rumored he might be a werewolf, which means he might have killed your sister. And the only thing that confirms it is a dress lying on the floor of the building where he works. And now you're hiding in the woods while the guards are searching for you, and the man asks you to wait a while until his shift is over. Anyway, she thinks that this is what true love is. You weird. Good luck. After 1,000 miles, a few days and hundreds more orcs, ogres, golems and skeletons, I finally reached the Enclave, a secret city of necromancers, where the disciples of the dark arts make their devious plans under the guidance of a mysterious leader named Flame. Perhaps it was my own fault for having somewhat inflated my own expectations, But in the place of the Necromancer's city, I was not prepared to see a fenced-in village with 5 houses, about 6 farmers in black robes that seemed to have once just accidentally summoned a skeleton, 1 barkeeper, and mutual dreams of world destruction where no one could estimate their greatness. Okay, perhaps I shouldn't jump to conclusions and try to look a little deeper? The flame tells that the gods of this world are only deceivers, and the true ones are hiding out somewhere far in the depths. And they spoke specifically to her after the flame struggles for life in the desert for a month. So now she's the chosen one, and along with the other necromancers, wants to destroy all life so that the world can be reborn, those true gods can return, and she and her friends can finally start mattering. It's her mostly. Well, I don't know what kind of crap your barkeeper is hiding in his barrels, but you obviously been drinking a lot more of that crap than you should. By the way, the last thing that Flame asks for is a small favor. They want to destroy an entire village by throwing a poisoned bag down a well, just to send a message to the world about the Necromancer's return and their greatness. Yeah, it doesn't sound crazy at all, bitch. Hey, was that Billy? I'll get you and then send back to the hellhole, you little... By the way, other necromancers showed unexpected wisdom and decided to completely ignore the inglorious death of their great leader that was so much talked about.
Welcome, brother. The Enclave is happy with your presence here.
What kind of deals do people make with their conscience? Just to sit in the arse of the world and drink fermented donkey piss? Next up was another necromancer tower and another faded hope to find anything but priceless experience in it. But every time I see another one on the horizon, I can hardly believe it's just a stage set packed to the brim with undead. You may think that the search for the sister seems to have taken a back seat, but the truth is that it turned out to be a very, very long road. And now I am right beside an orc city where another of the Infinity Stones awaits me. Do you remember how I mentioned that I bought a costume in the capital that no one could recognize me as an orc? Well, it is time for me to use it. The props for the set of Return of the Jedi work as well as they did in 83, so the orcs didn't stand a chance of recognizing me in the Gamorrean Guardian costume and distinguishing me from their beautiful queen in any way. Well, I've got another stone in my pocket. The remaining was the desert one guarded by a dragon, and that one I had forgotten to take from the temple in ashes after the shock of a touching true love story. It seems that just to confuse me, the desert stone was not in the desert but in a burnt forest. And on the one side, it was right in the middle of the dragon's nest. No one was fooling around, but the dragon guarding it. Apparently he had some urgent business to attend to because he wasn't there. Oh, come on! Maybe that could even be considered lucky. Why are there some veins on the dragon eggs and they grow out of branches? Maybe he was hiding under the nest? You know, never mind. I just wanted to finish work and come back home. The temple has been cleared out long ago and now is only haunted by the ghost of slain enemies. Didn't I tell you that after a while the ghost of each enemy in the two worlds appears at the place of death? This even goes for the undead, so once you've cleared the skeleton cave, you almost certainly have to fight their ghosts on the way back too. Unlikely there is any deep meaning in this, especially with the stone in my hand, and now is the time to get out of town. My god, why are there orcs everywhere? So the stories about the city being protected by an artifact in the temple were true? Oh, so that's how it got in the way of finding the missing girl last time. Anyway, it's finally time to head to Gandahar, who promises that he won't betray us in any case, but for some reason, I don't believe him. Maybe I'm being unfair to him, and I just need to give the man a chance to open up, even though he looks and acts like a villain. And then the exchange will go peacefully and siblings can be finally reunited. And I'll just go home and, I don't know, maybe order a pizza or... Oh, for fuck's sake! Is Gandohar revealed as a traitor and main villain after all? You're full of shit. The real master of illusions Gandohar has managed to fool even the local paladins, and now the villain wants Kira to become a vessel for Aziraal, who has returned to this world, and right now he is completing the ritual somewhere in the grim castle that stands behind the wastelands. And there is an impassable barrier around the castle, something to connect with the pentagram in the sky, which edges rest against the spires of the Necromancer's towers. Oh... So that's what they were for. The towers were probably supposed to be guarded by hordes of necromancers and undead, but someone had already cleared them all out. So now there was only one set Nazgul standing in the top of each tower. It's gonna be quick. The only thing that can hold me up is... a graveyard? The graveyard! The necromancer asked me to collect 10 shoes for him in exchange for powerful spells. And I told you I'll be back. So get your best spells ready, Sorcerer, because I'm going to stop the Orc God. A poison shield. He gives me a fucking poison shield and then disappears. A worthless spell that was in my book back when we first met. And even then it was worthless. God, I hate necromancers so much. The desert was left, and it did have a couple of dragons in it. And it was also pretty sunny out there. Fortunately, the desert isn't very big, and apart from a small oasis, there wasn't much interest in it. So it wasn't long before I was back on the path to rescue Kira. The road to Gandohar's castle was full of undead and demons. But they either weren't very interested in me, or just couldn't catch up with the zombie horse I'd borrowed from the last Necromancer's tower. I think one of the Nazguls was riding it. The castle gates are guarded by a guy from a cave with a stupid name, and you know what? You shouldn't have come out of it, because I'm going to kick your butt so hard that you won't be recognized even in your own goat cave. Do you want some more? Fine, at least I finally found your demon. Actually, it's gonna be a while. Local magic didn't really work on it, so I just had to beat it with a stick until it fell. You made it cozy here, Gandohar. In general, the Sorcerer says that Kira cannot be saved, the ritual has gone too far, and if it is not interfered with, she will become immortal, and in some way I can become immortal too. Actually, the world will soon change, because the ancient gods will return to it, which are so all-powerful that they could not get into it without some miserable ritual of one useless wizard, who even with the help of his ancient gods could not collect all the parts of relics by himself. And anyway, I supposedly have been serving these gods for a long time without knowing it, so it's much better to join than to fight with him. And even more so the ancient gods return. You know, I think it all sounds pretty convincing, and Gandohar is a savvy bloke who can definitely be trusted, so if it saves the sister, I'm up for it. A couple of paladin angels were very disappointed, but not as much as me when they dropped dead after a few hits. Anyway, now I am the new villain and the sisters an Orc God's vessel, so pack your bags and put on a better hat. We've got to meet the ancient gods. No, of course not. Do you know how many punches were needed to send him to the goat cave after his friends? 3 and a critical one.
One day you will see the truth. There is no truth.
Yeah, find somebody who gives a shit, freak. So brother and sister were back together, I got my reward, and the happy siblings rode off into a bright future. So bright in fact that I think they went to the desert for some reason. Well, it's none of my business, as I've got pockets full of gold after all I've collected, sold, and I think it's all left in his trousers. Bloody hell. It all sounded like a pretty simple job, so to pay for a couple months of rent that's overdue, get some food, and I think we broke again. All in all, I should have asked a little more for the job. Yeah, I'm sorry too, princess. It's okay. I think now we still have a little time before they kick us out. Plus, I'm feeling a little better anyway, and we seem to have a new job. Do you know what the exchange rate is at New Yen?